Hello guys, I promised you guys yesterday a mastery video update for the masteries in the preseason and the setups updated and everything, and I have to say that a lot has actually changed, and the setups that used to be the best ones before currently are like second tier and third tier. I'm gonna go in and start explaining now. For example, I'm gonna explain 3 pages. I'm gonna explain the Fervor page, I'm gonna explain the Storm Raiders with Thunderlords page, and I'm going to explain the new OP mastery like setup that you should be using most games, which is with the Colossus mastery, the one that gives you the shield. So I'm gonna begin with the Fervor setup first. This setup that I have here, just for you guys, is basically the setup that you want to be using against really, champions that are really weak in the early game, and you have to be extremely aggressive, or matchups where the aggression meets yours, but Riven, but maybe you're able to actually defeat your opponent through it. For example, one matchup that I mean that way, it's actually like Yasuo. Like Yasuo in the early game when you're playing against him, he will actually outdamage you the first few levels with Fervor. However, like after you start reaching a certain point, like level 3 to level 6, you're able to just outdamage him purely because you have Fervor and just because you do way more damage than him no matter what he builds. So that's one example. But so yeah, this setup you have to use it against champions like Nasus, Yasuo, Malphite, etc. Matchups where you have to be the full-on aggressor and just fight constantly and never back down. And I'm gonna explain every single part here. The attack speed is only for, well, I'd say just the Q cancels. I just like to do it at least a little bit faster, so it's just preference. You can still go for sorcery here if you're actually like comfortable enough. Just Q comboing without it, the extra attack speed. Fresh Blood and Feast are really hard to like to pick in between both of them because I'd say like the 10 extra damage is not that much, but the 20 extra health here is not even that much as well, you know? And this one has a longer cooldown. I kind of just took this for the extra damage early. However, taking either one is fine. Here, Vampirism and Natural Talent. When you're going a fervor, usually you don't really like you don't have Thunderlords that scales a little bit of AP. You don't have it. The AP is kind of useless here, and the only thing that scales is the AD. So I actually recommend just going for the lifesteal here, just for now, if you're going fervor. Battle Trance, I'd say is like the best one to pick beside compared to like Double-Edged Sword and Bounty Hunter, simply because Battle Trance is basically you're just constantly fighting your opponent, right? And when you actually pick Fervor, you're fighting your opponent 24/7. You don't want to really leave him just like back off, short trading, etc. So there's no point in getting the 2.5 additional extra damage to yourself. And this one I think takes a little bit too long to build up. So I think you'd rather start with a 5% damage increase from the beginning. Armor Pen, obviously, over Magic Pen, and Fervor right here. Now we go to this one. Since you're going Fervor, honestly, a lot of matchups, just having the extra health regen is pretty nice. This isn't really, having the extra armor and MR is not really going to help you out that much when you're just fighting your opponent, like by 5%, I think it goes up to. It's not really that much early game, so it's not really going to help you out too much. The health regen, I think it's better for just lane sustain. Tough Skin is pretty good. You're not really going to be pushing people. I mean, people are not going to be pushing you under tower when you have Fervor because you want to be the aggressor. You're always going to be pushing into them. Explorer is actually pretty decent if you actually want to take this mastery. Between these two, I'd say when you have Fervor, you can choose between Tough Skin and Explorer. Runic Armor and Veteran Scars. Now, the reason I pick Veteran Scars when I have Fervor is because when I go against a Fiora or anything like that, I like to have that extra little bit of health to allow me to actually beat my opponent early game if we do end up having a really long trade. This is more for late game. If you don't like Runic, basically you gotta look at it this way. Runic Armor is for late game scaling. Veteran Scars is for like early game, just for early game pressure. And lastly, the Summoner spell like cooldown reduction is way better than the other two choices right here. Alright, I'm gonna move on to Thunderlords now and Storm Raiders. In this one, you just kind of choose between. Okay, Thunderlord's Decree, you should be using it in just short trade matchups. Let's say you're playing against let's say a Jace or something like that, right? And you just want to do a short trade and disengage, short trade and disengage. That's when you usually pick this. However, like I was saying before, the match, like the new Keystone, the Colossal's Keystone, is probably like extremely overpowered, so you're probably gonna end up taking that over Thunderlords like 1,000%, like almost every single game. Fervor, you still have to pick it in certain situations, but Thunderlords and Storm Raiders are really situational right now compared to the new Keystone. All right, let's begin from the beginning here. get the extra damage for the just farming. I've always preferred Secret Stash over everything else. You guys know this. Like, I don't think the extra damage on assassins that much, and you don't really get any buffs from this, so it's you don't get any mana. You get the damage here. Now here I have some people like ask me, is it even worth it getting Green Fathers instead of anything else? I say it's really worth it if you're constantly going back and forth between brushes. If you do that, it's definitely worth it. If you don't do that, then obviously not very worth. Intelligence. I think the early lethality or like scaling lethality is pretty bad. I mean, they kind of made armor pen pretty bad this season, so there's like barely any point in building it early. That's why, for example, rune pages like armor pen, or well, now called lethality, I kind of like outdated. You shouldn't be doing that anymore. You should be doing standard AD, CDR on armor. And then here you choose depending you want Thunderlords if you're going against like Jace, and if you're going against like Tryndamere or Trundle, which is slow based matchups, usually turn it back to Storm Raiders. On this side, using attack speed, extra damage from Flesh Blood, natural talent, and double-edged sword. Now for the mastery that a lot of people ask me about, like the mastery setup for Courage of the Colossus, the best keystone runner you should get almost every single game. Every single game, because the mastery, it's kind of just busted, okay? I think in the next couple of patches, it's actually probably going to get nerfed. Actually, no, most likely, yes, it's going to get nerfed, definitely. So, starting up, in this one, I'm gonna show you guys why I do this. It's very different compared to everything else I did in the other setups. The health regen, I don't really get it. I like to get like the extra bonus armor, but you'll see why. Even though in the past setups I said I wasn't taking it because it wasn't really that big of a deal. I take the extra armor here, and here I like to take 8 armor when they're pushing you in under tower. Okay, I don't have fervor, so I'm not gonna be constantly pushing them into the tower. Now here, runic armor for the late game, but it's not only for the late game. I got runic armor here to increase the lifesteal I'm getting here, and I do it for the increase on the Courage of the Colossus shield. So I get a bunch of like different like shields popping up and just increasing basically by doing this. Then we go fearless. We get just like extra armor and magic resist, gives us even more resistances, and then here Legendary Guardian gives you even more resistances. The reason I do all these recess masteries for the beginning is because the shield, while it's gonna be a big ass shield, it's still like they're still gonna shred through your health if you don't have any kind of resistances. So if you're going a damage build, which I mean it doesn't really matter right now if you go Titanic or heck, Revenant's Hydra into with the Colossus mastery, it really doesn't matter because if you only add the Titanic, you only get like a 30 extra amount of health from the Colossus. So it's not really that big of a deal. You can still go like full damage Riven as long as you have this keystone, it's fine. But everything stacking up together with the Courage of the Colossus actually makes you pretty tanky early game, and it makes it so enemy champions can't really trade with you very well early. Here, this is standard here. Just extra damage here. Double-edged sword, just because if you go battle trance, you're doing the full engage, but here, you just want to have the extra 5% damage, and the 2.5 damage that you're going to take back from your opponent, it's not going to be, like, really that significant, because you're going to have all the shields protecting you, right? So technically, you should be shielding the damage that's coming to you, and you should get the damage increase right away. Okay? So this is my setup for Season 7, well, for this patch so far. Things are bound to change probably next patch, or in the next couple of patches when Riot decides to change the mastery, so I'm not sure what will happen. I'm sure nobody knows yet. And yeah, this is all my setup for like every single mastery page that I use against certain champions. This keystone, use it almost in every matchup. I'm telling you. Use it against Jace, use it against Renekton, use it against Poppy, use it against. Well, actually, Poppy you could still run Fervor, but it's still kind of risky because some enemy champions, when they run Courage of the Colossus, kind of like cancel out you having the extra Fervor damage because it's so easy for them to just stand back and just do whatever. So basically, if you see a champion that can abuse Courage of the Colossus, just basically use it. It's extremely overpowered. And yeah, just get some freelo. Oh well, we're in preseason, so I guess you can't get freelo. I guess some free wins make the enemy team rage quit a little bit, huh? Alright guys, this is my mastery video. I'll see you guys later. Tomorrow I'll be uploading probably another matchup video. I'll see who I can invite for the next match. It's probably gonna be Darius. We'll see. Alright guys, I'm out. Peace.